Hello and welcome to the setup video for the HobbyZone XCub 450 millimeter airplane here, right? So you got this thing out of the box, you're ready to go ahead and put it together. The very first step you need to do to assemble the aircraft is simply install the landing gear here that come in the box. There's a slot in the fuselage here behind the battery door, and just simply take the landing gear, squeeze them together, and you will put them into the slot like so, okay? And then just bend them back out so that they are level or perpendicular to the ground, okay? All right, there we go. So we have our landing gear installed, and that's the only assembly you need to do on the Cub here. That is it. The landing gear face forward, by the way, so that will help the airplane from tipping over. So that's the only assembly. The airplane now is fully assembled, but we have a few more things we need to do before we go flying. The first is going to be, we're going to take this little black thing out here. This is the transmitter. This is what transmits the information that you give the airplane. It transmits it from here to here via radio. So to do that, we simply take the included screwdriver, take the screw out the back of the battery door, and then we have the AA batteries. And these batteries are enough to get you started, to get a number of flights in, but long term I would recommend a high quality battery. You don't want one of these batteries dying on you because it's very difficult to fly the airplane when that happens. I know from experience. So learn from me to always make sure that you use good quality batteries, and they are fresh ones when you are flying, and you don't let them go dead. So put the screw back in the transmitter battery cover here. And now we're going to go ahead and get to the next steps here. By the way, there is the manual, of course. You'll want to make sure you read the manual completely and follow all the setup notes inside here. So just want to remind you of that. Don't rely on the video only. Next up, we're going to want to make sure that we have our little 1S battery fully charged. You get a USB charger that comes in the box. So you want to plug this in and make sure the battery is fully charged and ready to go if you're going to go flying. For this demonstration here, we're going to just use the battery straight out of the box in order to just make sure we can power up the airplane and everything is set. Then we'll probably charge the battery up when we're going to go fly. And note, when it comes to LiPo batteries, don't ever leave them fully charged for an extended period of time. If you're not going to fly for a week or two, don't leave the battery fully charged. Only charge this guy up when you're about ready to go fly. And then when you are done with the battery, you should realistically keep it about 30 to 50% of its capacity is about where you want to store these. Never store them fully charged. Never let them go fully dead either. Fully dead LiPo is pretty much a dead LiPo from there on out. It can't be salvaged. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to start the airplane up. And to do that, we turn the transmitter to the on position. We got a little blinky light there. Okay, there we go. Always turn the transmitter on first, and then also make sure that the throttle is all the way down before handling the airplane, right? Now take your little Cub here. There's a door on the bottom by the landing gear. Go ahead and open that door up, and out pops the little wire here, okay? And make sure when you do this, of course, throttle is in the down position. Always make sure that your hands are far away from the propeller. You don't ever want to have an accident with that. And go ahead and install the battery. And to do that, you simply line up the red and the black wires and plug the white plug in, okay? All right, so we do that. And then we just simply slide the battery into the little door here. And then we will push the wire in and close the door, okay? All right, the battery is installed. We're going to set the airplane down, and we're going to also go ahead. Now we have this toggle switch that's on the top here, and this goes between beginner mode, intermediate, and expert mode. You hear it beep when I do that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move it into experience mode for the next step, and that is actually gonna do a control system check. And we wanna make sure that all the control surfaces are two things. They all move in the right direction, and they are all aligned before we go fly. This is part of the pre-flight setup check that a lot of people miss this step and can end up with a problem. If you saw my other video on the P-51 Mustang, you realize that one of the control surfaces was out of alignment, so we have to make sure we fix that. If you miss that in the pre-flight, it could be a very bad day when you go fly. And I always think you want to maximize your chances of success. And that doesn't matter if you're an experienced pilot or a beginner pilot and you're taking your very first flight. You want to maximize your success. Just like an airline pilot, they do a walk around and an inspection. General aviation pilot, they do the same thing. They want to make sure everything is good to go before you fly. And this is part of that process of just making sure everything is good to go before you go fly. So, okay, so now we have the airplane sitting here in front of us. We're ready to do our control system check here. I do want to mention a couple things here. One of which is, let's say you power up the transmitter, you plug in the battery, and you go to move the control surfaces, and you, for whatever reason, you don't get control surface movement, right? Nothing seems to be working. If you go in the manual here, there is a section on binding the airplane, and you want to do that on page 8. So just in case your airplane, for whatever reason, didn't come bound from the factory, there's a way you can do it manually, and you simply plug the battery in first, turn on the transmitter, it will automatically link itself, and then you are good to go. As you can see here, we have control surface movement. But just kind of a heads up, if you happen to get one that isn't bound from the factory, there's a manual way you can do it. So if you plug everything in, you're not getting anything working, rebind the aircraft, should be good to go, and it will maintain that connection from here on out, right? So the first control surface that I like to check is the ailerons, right? So to do this, you're going to take the aileron stick, and you're going to go ahead and I'm going to put it back into experience mode here. You're going to move the stick to the right, and the right aileron goes up. Left aileron goes up. Okay, I got good movement there. It's a lot easier for me to do this in how I would do it actually at the flying field, and that is the airplane is pointed away from me. I have the transmitter, it's pointed down like this, and I go right aileron, left aileron, right aileron, left aileron. And what I'm looking for is just to make sure that when I go right, the right goes up. When I go left, the left goes up. Okay. Next step is to check to make sure I have the elevator. I'm going to pull back on the elevator stick, and the elevator should go up. Yep, elevator goes up. I'm going to push it down, elevator goes down. Yep. And then I'm also going to check to make sure that the rudder works. So to do that, I'm going to go right on the rudder. Rudder should go right, and go left on the rudder. Rudder should go left. Okay, good. So that tells me that all the control surfaces are moving in the direction that I expect them to move. The next step here is you just want to take you can use a straight edge, you can use a credit card, a business card, and I want you to, we're just going to use a screwdriver here because I forgot to get one here for me, but I just want to lay this on the bottom of the elevator here, and I want to make sure the elevator and the stabilator are indeed in line with each other. If you saw my video on the Mustang, you saw that the elevator was in the down position, most likely just got bumped in in packaging or something, and I want to make sure that that is perfectly straight before I go fly. If it is not, there are these little wires on the bottom here, and there's a U shape that's in there. If the elevator is too high and you need to bring it down, you squeeze the U together, and that will shorten the push rod and level it. If it's down, you need to put it up, you need to expand that U shape, and it will move in the upward position. So I check that. I also look at the rudder and vertical stab, and I make sure that that is indeed in line, which on this one it looks pretty much like it is. And then also I'm going to check to make sure that the ailerons are also in line with the surface of the wing, which they also appear as well. You use your straight edge, you just lay your straight edge on top, you lay it on the bottom, do the same on the bottom again, and just go around and make sure that all those surfaces are aligned. And what that's doing is, of course, making sure that when the airplane is in a steady state of flying, that all the surfaces are flat. If the ailerons are slightly tweaked, the airplane is going to want to roll one way or another. Now you can fix that in the air by using these trim switches, but you always want to make sure that the airplane is what we call mechanically trimmed before you go fly, meaning everything's as flat as it can be. There may be some slight variation in the foam that can cause the airplane to kind of drift one way or up or down or something like that, and that's where you use these little switches here to go ahead and make your adjustments. Okay, now that we've made sure that all the surfaces are flat, they all move in the right direction, let's go ahead and check the motor, all right? So I hold the airplane, put the prop away from me, and make sure nothing is in front of me, and I advance the throttle. Okay, as you can see, I advanced the throttle, but I got no action here, see? Trim is low, and you move your throttle all the way up once to initialize, all the way back down to 0 again, and now you can see that the throttle indeed works. And from there, you'll notice that already I'm seeing the control surfaces starting to dance around. If I put it in beginner mode, you can see that the surfaces are reacting to whatever I'm doing with the airplane, right? You can see them moving. So in beginner mode, it's got kind of a self-leveling feature to it that's going to adjust the airplane so that it wants to fly level. When you are in experience mode, that system changes a little bit, and now it's only moving to turbulence and shock and wind in the air, but it's moving the control surfaces around. Okay. All right, so we have throttle, we have all of our controls. One last thing I like to do is just check the center of gravity, and to do that, it's usually about a third the way back on the wings. I just simply going to put my fingertips underneath here and see if the airplane just balances. Which it's a little tough with the struts here, but yeah, if I go to the outside of the struts, make sure I can get my fingers on there, you can see, yep, just about, between about a half and a third back on the wing. If I hold it up with my fingertips, the airplane balances out just fine. So everything is good to go there. So at this point, as far as the airplane is concerned, the airplane is ready to go fly. You are set. So the next thing to do is to check the weather. Make sure that the weather is good. And the big thing to look for on the weather, of course, is wind. If the wind is between 0 and 5 miles per hour, good to go. Go ahead and get this thing up in the air. If the winds are 5 to 10, I would say no. Stay home. Don't bother flying this, especially if you're a beginner. You want to fly with the lowest wind possible. If there is any wind, note the direction. The airplane, you should always fly the airplane taking off into the wind and landing into the wind. So you're going to want to make sure when you get to your flying field and you look around, you know that the wind is coming at your face, and you're going to throw the airplane or take the airplane off if you're going to use the ground or hand launch it, that you are taking off into the wind. And then when you land, you should always land in that exact same direction. So make sure you are aware of wind speed and wind direction. The last thing to do is pick your flying area. Make sure your flying area isn't going to be full of objects and distractions. Objects such as trees, houses, power lines, poles, parked cars, people walking their dogs, things like that. Distractions such as people out for walks, people driving cars, riding their bikes through. Be a good steward of the hobby and pick an area that is safe. And for an airplane like this, I would say I would pick a little league baseball diamond or a soccer field or a park about that size that's got an area about the size of a baseball diamond without any trees around. You will be amazed that an airplane will find a tree like you will not believe. So try to pick an area that does not have any trees or distractions or objects. Don't fly in a neighborhood. Don't fly in congested areas. Don't fly with a lot of people around. Don't fly where running dogs can come and take your airplane out of the sky. Be a good steward of the hobby, and you'll be far more successful and have a lot more fun being a good steward of the hobby and flying in an area that's really appropriate. If you can find a local flying club, by all means, that's a fantastic resource to head there and talk to those guys and ask if you can have one of them help you learn to fly this. So with that, we have gone over how to set the airplane up, how to check the control surfaces, how to power up the motor, how to bind just in case you need to do that. The last thing is just in terms of battery care. Let's go ahead and shut it on and we'll talk about that. So after you're done flying, you always want to take the battery out and disconnect it from the airplane first. So go ahead and disconnect the battery. The airplane is shut down. Now you always want to turn the transmitter off. Transmitter goes on first, then power up the airplane. The opposite for turning it off. Take out the battery, power off the airplane, power down the other transmitters. Right now everything is turned off. And also make sure that when you're handling the airplane that nobody is holding the controller. Don't have a friend or a kid or anything like that hold the controller where they could inadvertently hit the throttle and cause a problem, all right? Put the transmitter down, making sure that it is secure, safe, and no one is going to be touching it if you're going to be handling anything around the propeller. Note on the battery, it does come with the charger here. Always make sure that you fly on a fully charged battery. So if you look at the weather and the weather looks good, let's say like, hey, tomorrow looks like the weather is going to be great. Either charge the battery up the night before or the morning of, but always make sure that you charge this when you are home and around the battery. Don't charge it unattended. Charge it in a safe area like a garage. There's little bags or something if you want to put it in one of those, that's perfectly fine. But never charge a battery unattended. And don't ever leave the battery charged for an extended period of time. If you're not going to fly for a week or so, make sure that you wind the battery down to about 50 to 30%. So you can actually plug the battery into the airplane, power it all up, do the normal steps, and just hold the airplane, power up the airplane, and let the kind of just drain the battery down that way. That way you never leave these fully charged. Personally, when I got started, I didn't know that, and I ruined a ton of batteries because I left them fully charged thinking that's what you do with a battery, and I ruined a lot of batteries doing that. Also, never let one of these batteries go fully dead either. A fully dead LiPo is a fully dead LiPo. It will probably never come back to life. You've destroyed the battery. So taking good care of the batteries is a great way to make sure that you can get the maximum life out of these guys. And if you do go fly, charge up both batteries. Have two ready to go. And buy extras if you really are getting serious about doing this. I like to recommend 4 batteries for every one of my planes. Typically about 4 flights is kind of at that level where I feel really confident and start to really grow with the hobby is about with 4 batteries. 1 to 2 is a great way to get started, but I always find that going to the flying field with 4 packs fully charged, ready to go is a fantastic way to go. And then when you're done, of course, just make sure that the little battery door is closed, and take good care of the airplane. Do a post-flight inspection too to make sure nothing damaged on it or anything like that. But that's about it for how to get your little XCub 450 here set up and ready to fly. So if you guys got any questions at all on how to set up the new HobbyZone 450mm XCub, just leave them in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel because I'll have more stuff coming on these little guys soon. But I'm really enjoying the little XCub here. I have to say, the more I have had this thing sitting out here on the table with me and been around the airplane, the more and more I am excited myself to fly this little guy, because I think not only is it going to be a great trainer, but it's just going to be a great low stress, enjoyable way to fly an airplane. So if you guys got any questions, leave them in the comments below. All right, so one thing I wanted to cover that I did not feel I covered it correctly in the setup video was the throttle. So I said that you had to have the throttle down to the lowest trim setting to initialize the motor. That's incorrect. So if I move the throttle up now, the throttle stick, it's not doing anything, right? So initialize the motor on the HobbyZone XCub and P51 Mustang. Move it all the way to the top position. It's gonna beep. All the way back down to 0. It's gonna beep. And there you go. Now you have the throttle set. You'll need to do that every single time you get ready. That's the throttle cut, basically. So you need to do that every single time you power up the airplane. Throttle all the way to full up, all the way to full down. That full up beep, full down beep tells you that the motor is ready to go. So a lot of my airplanes, I have set up a special switch that I can turn on and off that will make sure that I don't inadvertently hit the power on the prop. I can make sure I lock that out. So for this one, it's done by hitting the throttle all the way up, all the way down, and you're good to go. So I did not cover that correctly in the original video, so I want to make sure I did a better job of getting that done in this one. So if you guys got any questions at all, by all means, leave them in the comments below. And my apologies for getting the throttle set up just a little bit wrong. I was used to one of my other planes that had to have the trim set. And of course, I also have a plane that needs the throttle fully up, fully down, and I forgot that even the manual says that, and I still missed it. So my apologies, and hopefully I didn't cause too much confusion for you guys.